Hey guys, Peter here to do an album review. Today I'm here to talk to you guys about the brand new record from Belzebubs, Pantheon of the Nightside Gods, out right now. The album has 11 tracks and it's just over the 1 hour mark. There is a lot to unpack from this record. I have a lot of things to tell you guys about, at least from my own perspective of listening to this album and what I got from it. Let me start by saying that this album really surprised me. It surprised me from a sound perspective, structure perspective, and how dynamic it was. I felt listening to this record that this record was a perfect description, music-wise, of how life is. You have birth, growth, death. To me, I felt like this album really represented that from the beginning to end. If you sit down to listen to the record, I feel that you're first introduced to the album with the birth of the record, with the start of the album, with a lot of irreverence, a lot of youth. Then there's a feeling of growth, maturity, and then at the end, a feeling of death, end. Now, the end is not really the end because I truly feel like in life, with death, there's a new beginning, there's a new rebirth, there's a new start. This album kind of has that same vibe and the way the songs were structured. If you listen to the last track on the album and you listen to the first track on the album, there's a sense of continuity between those two tracks. The melody that the last track finishes off with, there's a bit of that melody at the beginning of the first track of the album. So to me, this is almost an album that comes full circle in that circle of life, that it has a continuation. It doesn't really feel like there's a beginning and an end. There is a cycle of life, if you will. And with that cycle, there's peaks and valleys, there's starts and rebirths and ends. And this album has that feel, has that structure from the first song to the last song, and then how they come all together full circle. To add to that, I really feel that the album is divided in 3 acts. The first act is from song 1 to song 5. The second act is from song 6 to song 8. And the third and final act is from song 9 to song 11. This to me is also plays into that representation of life, into that cycle of life, into those different stages of your life. And I really felt the album had this to offer to the listener. If you're paying attention, if you're really diving deep into the record, I really feel like the album is divided into 3 acts. In the first act, from that song 1 to song 5, you really get a lot of exuberance, you get a lot of irreverence, you get a lot of that irreverence, that youthful aspect of metal and how the album comes across, very irreverent. There's a lot of that in those first 5 tracks. Heavy, melodic, aggressive. There's a lot of that at play in the first 5 tracks of the record. As you get into Act 2, track 6 to track 8, there's a little bit of growth. I really felt that the album at that point really surprised me. It really went on the left turn. I was not expecting. Up until that point, I kind of got into a groove. I got into a vibe. I was almost feeling like I was expecting what was coming next. And then the second act comes in from song 6 to song 8, and it really feels like there's growth there. There's a next stage in life, if you will. I felt that at that point, they used a lot of the symphonic elements that you get in the first act. In the first act, you get them more from a melody perspective. They're incorporated in the songs to add melody to the tracks. I felt in the second act, if you will, there's a little bit of a different use of those same elements. You have the same elements at play, but how they're used are different, and that sets the songs apart. I felt that they were used more to give us a certain atmosphere to the track, to give a little bit of growth, to create more layers, to make the songs a little bit larger, to make the songs a little bit more cinematic, if you will. Then you have the third act. And the third act, from song 9 to song 11, I really feel like these symphonic elements that were present in the first and second in different ways, they come more to the forefront. In the first act, I felt that they were a little bit more in the background as melody. In the second, they kind of jumped a little bit more to the forefront to create atmosphere. And now in the third, they come full circle. They really come all the way to the forefront, and they become the predominant factor of the tracks, almost like the driving force behind each single song. So to me, when I look at this record, this is how I appreciate it, this is how I approached it, and this is how I saw it. From a perspective of almost a movie about life and how you go through those cycles. Now, another aspect about this album that I really enjoyed was how the sound comes across. I like what they did in terms of how they use the guitars, how they use the drums, and how they use the vocals. I really like the fact that the guitars almost sound to me like the combination of the drums and the vocals. They're like in the middle. They're walking a fine line, and they're the merging force that really unites this record. That really brings together the harshness and the aggressiveness of the vocal delivery with the darkness that comes from the drums. So I really felt on this specific record that the guitars were like the middle ground. They were like the glue that was really keeping this record together, that was unifying these different elements that are coming at you, and in some cases they were even there to unify those melodic elements, those symphonic elements that really give a lot of melody to the record. I really like that. I really like that overall feel, a very raw feel. This album has a very raw nature, not only from a guitarist perspective, but even from the drums and the vocals. Overall is a very raw, cut album, and with melody surrounding it, if you will, with melody providing a blanket that really covers that raw feeling that the album has in its sound and in how it comes across. And I really feel the guitars play a huge role in that. The sound of the guitars, when you merge that with the drums and the vocals, really add to that raw vibe that the album has. Another element that I liked about the record was how the tracks really flew from one to the other. The symbiosis that exists on this record from track to track to track is really impressive. It really adds to the listening experience. It really adds to that vibe of having 3 acts, like I mentioned earlier, and it really adds to the fluidity that the album has. You really feel like the songs are perfectly interconnected with each other, almost like there's something on each song that leaves a little bit of a cliffhanger for the song that's coming afterwards. In some tracks, it's more noticeable than others, specifically around Act 2 from track 6 to track 8. There is a blend of the songs, if you will. There is really a bleeding out from one song to the other, where one song ends, the other one starts right after. So the songs are really intermingled and interconnected. It's more obvious in that second act, if you will. But if you're listening to the whole record in sequence, you really feel like each song almost leaves you with a cliffhanger for the next song that comes right after. So what this allows the album to have a dynamic, to have life, to breathe life on its own, to have a certain fluidity. It never allows the listener to feel absolutely comfortable with where he is on the record, because he doesn't really understand exactly what's around the corner. You kind of get an idea of what's coming, but you're never 100% sure until you get there. And as the album progresses, those changes and those fluidities become even more noticeable, gives the album even more life. So the album almost picks up intensity in some cases as it progresses. It never slows down. It never feels like it's losing momentum. The album never really feels like it's going towards an end. It just always feels like it's gaining momentum, that it's gaining power, that's gaining strength, almost like a storm that is just getting stronger and stronger with every single track that passes by. This is a very well structured, very well put together record, really well balanced as far as the songs are concerned. The way the sound comes across really gives life to the record. It gives life to its specific tracks, and I really like the balance that it's in this record. And I like how the record feels to me to be divided into 3 different acts. I really like that. It's really different. I can't remember the last time I heard a record that had this kind of dynamics, that had this kind of style to it. So that was really refreshing. It was really different, really unique. Now, as far as songs are concerned, I'm not going to talk about the singles. I want to talk about different songs. I'm going to start with Acheron. Beautiful melody to start off this track. It really builds up from that, and it has a great momentum as the song progresses through. You really feel like the aggression is coming, and it does come at you once the harsh vocals come in. It gets heavier. The drums really add to that aggression as well, and I really like how the drums sound on this specific track. Very subdued. They're very heavy. They're very raw as well, to match to the rawness that you're getting from the guitars and even from the aggression of the vocals. But they're very subdued. There's melody throughout. There's a blanket of pure melody that really surrounds the song. It adds purity. It adds beauty to it. And it gives the song a sense of, this song has a sense of a tide, with waves coming in and going. You really feel like the melody is there throughout the whole song. You have this blanket of melody that really covers the track, but then you have a sense of aggression coming at you in waves, like a tide coming in and out, and you get that throughout the whole song. Gives the song such a cool dynamic, gives the song such a feeling of constant abrupt aggression coming at you, mixed in with absolutely beautiful haunting melody around it. I really like how the song is put together, how it sounds, and how it sounds to you when you're listening to it, how it feels, that those waves coming at you, those waves of sound coming at you. I really enjoy this song, from how it was structured to how it was delivered. The next song I'm going to talk about is The Crown Daughters. I'm going to talk about Dark Mother right after. These two songs come back to back. So you get The Crown Daughters, and then right after that you get The Dark Mother. These two songs fall into what I call Act 2. These two songs are interconnected. I really feel like these two songs are one song that's divided into two separate tracks. They don't feel to me like two individual songs. They feel to me like one song where you get The Crown Daughters being the actual introduction, the intro, if you will, to Dark Mother. The two really feel interconnected. It's almost impossible to separate these two songs. To me, the best way to really get the full experience is to actually listen to them in sequence, because I believe that's the only way you're going to get the full essence of what these two tracks are all about. But starting with The Crown Daughters, the acoustic intro is absolutely beautiful. I love the killer guitar riffs of this song. I love the killer sound of the guitars. This song has almost like a 2-minute, like just a little bit over the 2-minute instrumental intro, if you will. There's no vocals for the first two minutes and change of the song, so it almost feels like there's a build-up intro to it, but it's absolutely beautiful. The melody of the guitars in that intro is absolutely beautiful. I really like it. It adds a lot of atmosphere. The song has a feeling of a stripped-down effect, of a more acoustic effect with clean vocals. I like how they used, it surprised me that they used clean vocals in this song. But then as the song progresses and as it bleeds into Dark Mother, the use of the clean vocals made a lot more sense to me. So I really like the fact that they use clean vocals at the beginning of this song. It really adds to the atmosphere that the track has. When you look at the symphonic elements that are on the forefront of this song, it really adds to that. And then you mix in the acoustic elements. You have 3 very melodic elements coming at you. Now, the moment these things are coming at you, you feel like there's some aggression around the corner. You feel like the song is asking for something a little bit more aggressive, something to turn the corner. And that happens once the harsh vocals kick in. Once the harsh vocals kick in towards the third end of the song, you really feel like the song is gaining momentum, is getting heavier. You still get those stripped down effects, those atmospheric elements of the acoustic sound, of the symphonic elements. You still get all of that there, but now the dynamics has changed and you've replaced the clean vocals with harsh vocals. Then, as the song is ending, Dark Mother, which is the following track, starts right after. One is connected to the other, and like I said, overall, this doesn't feel like two separate songs. It rather feels like one song that was divided into 2 parts. Now, Dark Mother is perhaps, like I said, the continuation of The Crown Daughters. I really like how the two blended in together, and that aggression that had started at the end of The Crown Daughters continues through Dark Mother. Dark Mother is a very aggressive, heavy, dark song. The guitars are very raw. The vocals add to that rawness, but when you start looking at the sound of the guitars and how they come at you, the guitars on this song merged in with the drums provide a perfect partner. It just sounds so raw, so pure in its purest form, if you will. I really like the vibe that it added. Now, when you add the symphonic elements of this song, to me, this song had perhaps a little bit more symphonic elements, keyboard melodies in the forefront, more than The Crown Daughters. It really gives this song a very strange atmosphere. It gives the song a sense almost like you're watching a Hitchcock movie. You really have that sense in the air, that feeling, that atmosphere that you're watching a thriller, a Hitchcock movie like Birds, for example, or Psycho. It really plays on that. And most of that is really coming from those symphonic elements, that keyboard melody, that it's so much in the forefront and it's so predominant. When you add that to the layering of vocals and how the vocals come across, you really have a very cinematic track. This song has a larger than life feel. It really feels like a movie score. It has that that structure to it in the way the song is put together, but more important in the way the elements all come at you. It really creates this larger than life feel, like this really over the top cinematic experience when you listen to this song. One more note about this song: I absolutely love the guitar solo on this track. My favorite throughout the record. I love how it sounds. I love how beautiful and melodic it is, but at the same time, how aggressive that guitar solo is. It really adds to the aggression that this song has. This song has a lot of aggression from the beginning to the end. It really, like I said, it really picks up at the end of the Crown Daughters, and then it bleeds into this track. There's a lot of aggression there. I love how the solo has that aggression built into it, but at the same time, a lot of melody. I love this album. This is it. I love this album. Belzebubs, Pantheon of the Nightside Gods. I love what they did. I love the structure. Really refreshing record, really different, really well balanced, really well put together, really well mixed. I really like the sound. I like how they kept the vocals always in the forefront. At any point in time of the record, they never allowed any other element, either be the guitars, drums, keyboards. They never allowed any other element to overshadow the vocal delivery. That's in the forefront. Everything else is there as a soundtrack to that vocal delivery. That was the key thing on this record. I absolutely love the work they did on this album. Magnificent record. I really enjoy it. But now I want to hear from you guys. What do you guys have to say about Belzebubs, about the Pantheon of the Nightside Gods? Let me know in the comment section below. I'll be reading those and getting back to you. Take care, guys.